times stronger than cyanide.
Probably lucky that Lieutenant Miller didn't find a fish like that.
I continue to search, and it's not long before I find something edible.
Oh yeah. This is a kind of a conch, or sometimes they call them spider conches because they have these long spikes on them. Definitely something you don't want to step on.
Conches are a type of mollusk. They are naturally high in protein and minerals such as iron.
So this is a good find. Really, really good to get some food like this. Nice.
With a few clams on the side, this will make a decent meal. But first, I need to make camp.
Places like this, if it decides to rain, it is a serious downpour. If I'm going to be out here sleeping, you spend the time making a really good shelter.
Armed with his hunting and fishing know-how, Miller was able to construct simple weatherproof structures. But making a fire posed a far greater challenge.
Definitely not ideal conditions to make a fire. Basically, anything that touches the ground is pretty much in the process of rotting here because everything is so wet.
To turn an ember into a flame, I'll need something dry.
This old life jacket, much like the same kind of life jacket or life vest that Hugh Miller had, they were filled with a material called kapok, which is like a cotton, but it comes from a tree. It's very buoyant, but what I'm looking for is dry and very fine. This is good stuff.
With my tinder at the ready, I carved 2 pieces of soft wood to make a tool known as a fire plow.
The trick is the control. You got to make sure that this stick is a perfect motion every time. And then with downward pressure, you're creating friction. You can see it smoking already.
With enough elbow grease, I have a tiny ember.
It'll just be almost like a chain reaction. That ember will grow into these fibers.
And with some added coconut husk,
There we go. Nice.
I have fire.
Now that I know I have a fire, I know I can cook, and that's a major relief. A little spider conch, put them face down first. Very hard shell. There we go. Okay, looks like I got most of it. Kind of like rubber that came from the ocean.
After a revitalizing meal, I bed down for some much-needed rest. But in the dead of night, I'm woken by something rustling in the dark.
What is that? There. Ugh. That is a coconut crab. They are the largest land crustacean, largest land arthropod in the world, and one of the most powerful. Those pinchers would easily lop off one of your fingers. And this is just a baby one, believe it or not. The full-grown ones are about the size of a basketball. It's insane.
Hugh Miller had his own problems trying to sleep on the beach. He is kept awake by the extraordinary spectacle of battles on the horizon. Far out to sea, Japanese and U.S. warships are facing off in deadly naval duels. As losses mount. Both sides pour more and more resources into the battle. Enemy gunboats begin patrolling the coast, forcing Miller to take cover. He knows if he stays near the beach, it's only a matter of time before he's spotted. Now marooned for 10 days, Miller's only option was to head inland and commence his journey towards the eastern side of the island. But before departing, he had one final piece of housekeeping.
He wanted to make sure, purposely, to leave no evidence of his tracks. So he took a palm frond and hid his footprints. He wanted to make sure that the Japanese didn't know that there was an American alive on this island.
This smart thinking likely bought Miller some time. Time he needed to put to good use as he entered a challenging new environment. As American forces advance through the Solomons, its jungle islands become battlefields. The fighting is ferocious, descending into brutal hand-to-hand combat. Few prisoners are taken by either side. The dire consequences of capture spurred Miller on as he traveled deeper into the island.
Traveling through this jungle, there are no trails. It's hard enough with the machete. I don't have a machete. Lieutenant Miller didn't have a machete. So basically, you've just got to dodge and weave. Really hard going.
Miller's progress was hampered by more than just thick jungle. The Solomons contain the largest lagoons in the world. Many of these natural inland barriers are infested with saltwater crocodiles, ambush predators that still kill several people a year on these islands.
I've been following the shores of this lagoon for far too long.
Miller had no option but to cross this unavoidable obstacle. I must do the same.
Before I do that, I've got to get myself prepared, though.
I'm going to build something to keep my kit dry, but my options here are limited. There's no bamboo to build a big raft, and without a machete, I'll have to improvise.
Yeah, this is the tree I'm looking for.
These softwood saplings are light,
There we go.
and should provide enough buoyancy to keep my equipment out of the water.
So here, one of these, and I'll get to building.
Miller went to meticulous lengths to avoid getting his boots and socks wet.
Lieutenant Miller knew the importance of keeping his feet dry. Out here in this wet environment with wet socks, if you just wear them and you keep slogging through the mud, your feet stay wet, they never get a chance to breathe. And in this place, just like wood on the ground, things begin to rot.
During World War II, thousands of soldiers fighting in the Solomons became casualties of jungle rot. Also known as trench foot, if left untreated, this bacterial infection leads to blood poisoning, gangrene, and in severe cases, amputation. This small platform will keep my footwear high and hopefully dry.
This isn't going to support my weight. I'll be swimming.
It's not long before she's ready for her maiden voyage. I'll be making my crossing in the full heat of the midday sun. But this has one advantage. as crocodiles are primarily nocturnal. This should be the safest part of the day. But with big predators, there are no guarantees.
Keegan-Michael Key, the all-new season of Brain Games is filled with cognitive experiments and mind-bending games. The new season of Brain Games is filled with super exciting games. Yes, but the show is about the human brain and how it perceives... Tell them about the pandas. We have a game with dancing pandas. It's amazing! Yes, it is. It is. But we have celebrity guests who play the games. Go. 1, 2, 3. I was getting to that. Fireballs! That's not what we're... And I break stuff with my mind. That doesn't even make sense. Sorry, you're right. I break stuff with my brain. That's not how that...
Brain Games, same day as the U.S. Tuesday, January 21st at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on National Geographic. And catch up on Fox. Every month, National Geographic proudly presents documentary films.
If you're seeking perfection, this is as close as you can get. We have some of the brightest minds on the planet.
Roll, please.
This is us taking control of our future.
I'm not a lone voice. I'm many.
Critically acclaimed documentary films. Every month, only on National Geographic.
Ready? Watch closely. The importance of storytelling is to bring about change.
We have a responsibility towards our planet.
I'm on a mission to find culinary inspiration. Drum roll, everybody! It's amazing! Our journey is just beginning.
I stubbed my toe on one of these.
It's an urchin, a spiky sea creature closely related to a starfish.
It's able to literally walk on its spines.
These needle-like appendages act as a defense mechanism.
There are some urchins that actually have venomous-tipped spines. Those are the kinds you definitely don't want to stub your toe on. There's all kinds of creatures out here that you have to be aware of. Well, there's far worse out here.
Hugh Miller faced deadlier dangers in this open terrain. He's spotted by a passing Japanese fighter aircraft. It dives straight towards him, firing its guns. Miller is completely defenseless against the shower of bullets, but miraculously, he survives. Miller needed to get out of the open as quick as he could.
Just about to the other side.
I'm safely across and ready to tackle the trials ahead. For Miller, now behind enemy lines for 20 days, the challenge is about to change. When the plane that attacked him returns to base, it reports Miller's position. The Japanese mobilize a manhunt. Enemy soldiers arrive in landing craft and fan out into the jungle to track him down. Miller was unaware that the jungle around him now held a new and deadly threat. And up ahead in the undergrowth, there's a surprise waiting for me.
Oh my God. It's a tank. Look at this. Look at this, just barrel right here, and then machine guns. There's the machine gun there, machine gun there. This is amazing. It's like a time capsule that's been rotting away. These are shell holes. Feels like 2 inches thick of steel. You can see where some of them ricocheted, but some of them penetrated. Maybe there may have been 3, 4, 5 soldiers in this tank. Just wondering if they may have died along with the tank. This place just must have been chaos.
As Miller struggles on, U.S. Marines begin pouring ashore on the neighboring island of New Georgia. As part of the invasion, hundreds of American bombers scour the region, dropping thousands of tons of bombs on the surrounding islands, and pounding any Japanese forces they encounter. Miller stumbles across the scars of this American bombardment, discovering the body of a dead Japanese soldier. He searches the remains for anything useful and uncovers food rations, intelligence documents, and a hand grenade. This chance encounter also alerts Miller to a terrifying new reality. There are Japanese soldiers on the island. His only option is to pick up his pace towards the eastern coastline.
Nice. Seeing a stream like this is really nice because there's less vegetation. This is my gateway out of this. I've crossed a majority of the island now, so any water going this way is going to eventually flow downstream to the east side of the island.
But as I head downstream, the banks begin to rise, and the water speeds up.
There's a big drop-off. It's gonna be slippery, but it looks like the only way down is gonna be right there.
Descending directly down this waterfall should be easier and quicker than hacking a route through the steep jungle slopes that surround it.
Yeah, it was slippery. But one thing I noticed right there in that pool, there's food in there. It's worth another look.
The turbulent base of a waterfall creates an oxygen-rich environment where freshwater animals can flourish.
There was a land crab that was wedged in a hole in that waterfall. Pretty
going to save this crab for later. Wrapping it alive in these leaves will keep it fresh. As Miller battled on, another struggle was unfolding on the neighboring island. U.S. Marines fighting their way through New Georgia are making steady progress. After weeks of fierce combat, they capture a Japanese airfield, allowing them to fly in reinforcements and secure complete control of the island. There was a chance for Miller, but only if he could reach the east side of the island. Now, behind enemy lines for over a month, finding enough food to power his journey was becoming a matter of life and death. Using his wilderness experience, Miller seized every small opportunity the jungle could provide. In the tropics, there are hundreds and hundreds of different species of ferns, and they all pretty much look the same. This fern right here, it's actually an edible fern. The newest shoots are the nicest. Making a fire could have alerted the Japanese to Miller's position. But in long-term survival, starvation can be the greater enemy. And cooking this crab is essential because it could contain dangerous parasites. I bundle the ferns and crab together to make my very own jungle ration pack. So that crab has plenty of protein, but then I complete all that with my ferns, which is going to have carbohydrates, a lot of vitamins, and all that stuff is not only good for your body, but just good for your morale. That's in a nice, neat, very tight packet. It's going to hold in moisture and steam. I just have some sacrificial leaves. These ones are going to burn away, but still my package inside is still going to stay nice and green and watertight. Steaming food is quick and simple and minimizes the time needed to keep a fire alight. Whew. Really tender. Kind of like boiled spinach almost. Like ginger flavored asparagus with a hint of seafood. Oh, that's nice. Time for the main course. Woo-wee. Look at that fresh, cooked, restaurant red crab. It pulls apart really easily. Hard on the outside, but nice, tender meat here on the inside. Oh, that's nice. With daylight fading, I'm looking for a quick and easy place to shelter for the night. The roots of this tree look like a good option, but appearances can be deceptive. I can't really go in much.
Key, Michael Key, the all-new season of Brain Games is filled with cognitive experiments and mind-bending games. The new season of Brain Games is filled with super exciting games. Yes, but the show is about the human brain and how it perceives... Tell me about the pandas. We have a game with dancing pandas. It's amazing! Yes, it is. It is. But we have celebrity guests who play the games. Go. 1, 2, 3. I was getting to that. Fireballs! That's not what we're... And I break stuff with my mind. That doesn't even make sense. Sorry, you're right. I break stuff with my brain. That's not how that...
Brain Games, same day as the U.S. Tuesday, January 21st at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on National Geographic. And catch up on Fox.
With Trivago, you can set a price range and compare different offers from hundreds of websites worldwide to find your ideal hotel. Hotel? Trivago. Find yourself a great price with the Trivago app. Download now.
This is not a border or a frame. It does not bind us or limit us. It is a portal, an entrance to the whole world, and a means to make it better. Every place, story, and passion lies through here. And for more than 130 years, this is where we explorers and innovators have gone. In going, it has been our mission to give back, reinvesting part of our profits into future explorers and their passions. This portal is the threshold of the next chapter of humanity, where we don't just see the world, we change it. Come with us, and together, we'll go further.
We're going right in here. Oh, yep, there it is. Oh, wow. Right here, look at this.
It's a Solomon Island boa.
For such a tiny little snake, it has a heck of a grip.
He gave me a surprise, but this snake isn't deadly.
A snake this size is looking for lizards either on the ground or up into the trees.
This side of the tree is spoken for,
There you go.
so I choose another spot. Once he knew that he was being hunted, it was exactly in places like this where Lieutenant Miller had to spend his nights. If he was found sleeping, he would have been shot on sight. He found places where no one would ever suspect a person would be, in holes in trees like this, under rotten logs, whatever it took to get him through the night. Hidden from the outside world, Miller hoped that sleeping places like this would keep him safe from the Japanese. But he was wrong. In the dead of night, Miller's woken up by an enemy patrol heading straight towards him. Cornered, he pulls out his loaded grenade and hurls it. It explodes, killing several of the Japanese soldiers outright. Miller scoops up his belongings and runs away into the darkness. He escaped, but Miller's reprieve was only temporary. He had stirred up a hornet's nest, and hundreds of additional enemy soldiers began pouring onto the island. The Japanese were on a manhunt fueled by revenge, looking for this rogue American that had killed their fellow man. Lieutenant Miller knew that. His habits had to change. The best thing to do was to try to make a lot of miles. In the very, very earliest hours of dawn, every small foreign break of a stick, any weird noise could be the Japanese enemy hiding, waiting for you to come right into their trap. Miller's time was running out, but he was closing in on his final objective. This is it. This is the East Coast. Now, just a stone's throw from American-held territory, Miller knew this very beach offered his best hope of rescue. And when an American plane flew overhead, he grabbed his chance. Miller frantically signals, but the move backfires. The pilot mistakes him for a Japanese soldier and dives in for the kill. But as he closes in, the pilot notices Miller's 6-week-old beard. He pulls out of the dive and reports the shipwrecked sailor's location to the American forces. Within hours, a rescue mission is launched, bringing Miller's incredible 43-day survival struggle to an end.
Hey! Hey! What a sight. What a moment it must have been for Lieutenant Hugh Miller, the moment when he knew he was going to survive. Being out here in the same place, on this very same island, going through some of the things that he went through. He used everything he knew about in his life to use out here in every way possible. He came out alive.
After he was rescued, Miller turned over the Japanese documents he had found to American intelligence. They held crucial details about the size and location of Japanese strongholds in the area. This strategic information helped U.S. forces win a number of key battles. And within months, America had liberated almost all of the Solomon Islands. Miller's astonishing story hit the press back home and seized the public's imagination. He became a national hero, interviewed on nationwide television by future President Ronald Reagan.
A story that will make every one of you proud to be an American.
And celebrated long into his old age. Having followed in this astonishing man's footsteps, in one of the most extreme places on the planet, I'm leaving with supreme respect for what Hugh Miller accomplished. Armed with the instincts of a natural survivor, he triumphed against unimaginable odds and proved himself to be the ultimate wartime castaway.
Michael Key, the all-new season of Brain Games is filled with cognitive experiments and mind-bending games. The new season of Brain Games is filled with super exciting games. Yes, but the show is about the human brain and how it perceives... Tell me about the pandas. We have a game with dancing pandas. It's amazing! Yes, it is. It is. But we have celebrity guests who play the games. Go. 1, 2, 3. I was getting to that. Fireballs! That's not what we're... And I break stuff with my mind. That doesn't even make sense. Sorry, you're right. I break stuff with my brain. That's not how that...
Brain Games, same day as the U.S. Tuesday, January 21st at 9 a.m. and 9 p.m. on National Geographic. And catch up on Fox.